Hello everybody, this is Pastor Matthew here at Calvary United Methodist Church, continuing the conversation on what are the sacraments. So previously I did a video explaining that baptism is that first sacrament that we come into the life of the church and we say yes to God through. And the second sacrament, one that we're invited to take repeatedly throughout our life, is called Holy Communion. As I've shared before, this is something that Jesus actually did. He had a Last Supper with his disciples, and he invited everybody to come and receive it who recognize that he's the Lord and need God in their lives. And so how do we do that at Calvary? Well, every week we celebrate communion in one way or the other. Sometimes we use these, sometimes we use these. And the way it goes is there's always bread and there's always a cup. Now, Jesus used wine, and some churches use wine, but in our Methodist tradition, we use grape juice so that children and those who don't want wine can still partake in the service. And so what we do is we remember and we celebrate that on the night in which Jesus gave up his life, he was with his friends and those who would betray him at a meal, a Last Supper. And there he gave thanks to God, he broke bread, he gave it to them, and he said, "Take and eat. This is my body." And what he's saying is, the bread isn't actually physically his body. It doesn't stop being bread in our tradition. And yet, we experience the real presence of God as we take part of bread consecrated by a pastor in this way. At the end of the meal, Jesus took the cup. He gave thanks to the Father, gave it to the disciples, and he said, "Take and drink, for this is my blood poured out for you and for the forgiveness of your sins." And so they drank, and we drink, and we remember that Jesus' blood was spilled so that we could be forgiven. And that could be a sad thing, but it's also an invitation to really appreciate and celebrate what God has done for you and for me. And so, who can come and receive the sacrament, a way in which we are forgiven? Well, in our tradition, we practice something called the open table. That is to say that everybody is welcome to come. We hope that they're baptized first, but you don't have to be. We hope that they're a person who really recognizes and is confessing of their sins, but we don't test you first. We just invite people forward. And the sacrament, the liturgy says that we welcome all who love the Lord their God and seek to live at peace with their neighbors and confess of their sins. And so we invite you to do that, to come and receive Holy Communion in the tradition of our church. And one way we do that is we take the bread, we dip it into the cup, and then we consume. That's called intinction. Some churches drink from the cup. We don't typically do that. Or you could use the little ones that we have that has the bread on the top and the grape juice underneath. And after communion, we hope that people go forward into their week, into their life, with a sense of God's love and joy. They feel forgiven because they are. Christ forgives. And this is the beauty of the sacrament, Holy Communion.